If you were given the groups of organisms we've discussed, sponges do not have symmetry. Cnidarians are radially symmetrical, meaning like a pizza, you could cut them in half multiple ways, whereas only the bilaterians are bilaterally symmetrical, where the only way to cut them in half is to create left and right halves. The significance of this is that since an area was chosen as the front, always moving forward, this is where sensory structures collected. This is where nervous tissue had to be concentrated to process smell, taste, touch, and vision to create the brain. And so a number of things followed the decision to always push the same part of the body forward. Flatworms have an incomplete digestive system because their mouth is not yet located in the head. It is still centrally located as it is in cnidarians. They lack a circulatory system, and this is why their intestine is branched, so that it then serves as a circulatory structure. Flukes and tapeworms are parasitic flatworms. Flukes are interesting because of their complex life cycle. So, for example, the egg might hatch into a ciliated larva known as a miracidium, and this can develop into a number of different types of larvae, such as the tadpole-like Cercaria, before forming the adult. Very often, each of these stages occurs in a different host, and so flukes not only possess their final host, where sexual reproduction occurs, but also a series of intermediate hosts. Tapeworms are also parasitic, and they have largely reduced their anatomy because they utilize their host. So, for example, they have minimized their digestive system and simply absorb nutrients from the intestines of their host. The proglottids that form in the neck region slowly mature. Each one is hermaphroditic, possessing both testes and ovaries. But as they mature, the other aspects of it break down, and it becomes, after sexual reproduction occurs, essentially a uterus which is full of eggs and developing embryos. We discussed a few other invertebrate phyla before this, the ones we spent more time on. So, for example, the rotifers, they possessed that ciliary wheel, which allows them to filter feed. Nematodes or roundworms can also be parasitics. They have a complete digestive tract, and so you should be able to match these groups to their structures. Coelomates possess a coelom, an internal body cavity, so that they are not solid within. And so the organs are hung in this cavity, allowing them to expand. The coelomates, known as protostomes, they have one type of embryonic development where the cells divide spirally. Their fate tends to be determined early, so the cells tend to differentiate early in development, and the first pore in the embryo tends to develop into the mouth, whereas the deuterostomes have the opposite type of development, where their fate tends to be determined late. They possess radial divisions in the early embryonic stages, and the early pore develops into the anus.